Right in the middle. Alright, so today we are here speaking with artist Wolfe Brack, and he is actually sitting in front of his drawing called...
Oh, that's another thing I'm not sure of. It keeps changing names. I think right now it's called In Perpetuity just because I can't seem to finish it. It's about, what, is it 5, 6 years old? Could be done, it just keeps going.
And I noticed when I was looking at it more closely, it reminds me of cell structures and natural forms that, if you look under a microscope, it looks really similar to that. And that thought leads me to the question, do you think that we have an innate understanding and knowledge of natural forms that keep repeating themselves in, like, say, tissue and the way that trees...
Well, that's what we are. So, I mean, it would make sense. We like repetitiveness anyway, like you listen to a kid's song, and it's all about repetition, same thing said over and over again, so why not the same as far as what we go for visually, or at least what I go for visually.
Because, you know, your drawing style is very naturalistic and organic, wouldn't you say that...
It's something I don't really need to... It's almost like a form of meditation. I can just watch my hand do it.
Me too. I know what you're talking about.
It just feels good. It feels right.
Yeah.
You're not restricted with...
Exactly.
Lines, even though this is pretty restrictive because it's like, okay, well, you got this natural form, but then you have concentric shapes. You have to follow that same form and make it smaller and smaller and smaller and try to get the line widths or the spaces in between, the negative space, uniform or kind of uniform. So I guess it's kind of a dichotomy there. Kind of a controlled chaos. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Deliberate restricted chaos.
But back to... that's interesting because when I was growing up, the whole idea of being able to draw was all based on whether you could replicate things in a realistic manner. And so I grew up kind of with a skewed sense of what was art. And then through doodling, I discovered that I had this knowledge and this innate ability to, as you're talking about, do it without thinking. And it turns into something that wasn't consciously constructed.
Right. And I went through the same thing. I'm still wrestling with the same thing. I've got plenty of friends that are artists. You know, another one guy is ridiculously talented.
And what? What's that?
He's an artist as well. As far as representational drawing, painting, he's ridiculously talented. It's not something that I feel I could do, you know, without 5 years of art school like he's been through. But still, I take pride in what I can do without, you know, it's just through intuition. It's more about intuition and patience. I mean, there's skill involved, not nearly as much technical skill, but I guess the skills are just patience.
And also, when you say letting yourself go, letting yourself...
Well, you forget. You forget about the world around you. You just go. And sometimes you may be overthinking things or analyzing things. Like I said, it's kind of a form of meditation or reflection. Just something to not focus on. If that makes any sense?
Basically, for me, it's easier to draw when something else is going on. Like when I was in college, when I was listening to a lecture, it was way easier for me to draw really, really like psychologically kind of charged things that were just like lodged in my brain.
Is that because did it have anything to do with the lecture, or because you were trying to keep yourself?
Because my intellectual
for the lecture.
My intellectual side was completely occupied, so I was able to do like two things all at once.
Okay, so you weren't hindered.
Right.
Your
because
brain was already occupied.
Exactly. So the other part of me, the emotional side or the creative, because sometimes they get all mixed up in me.
The basal self.
The base self? That's sort of the area where like impulses come and sensations or like, and also just raw imagery.
Yeah, that's a psychological term that's on the tip of our brains, but it's not going to come.
It's hard to say in words because there's all different ways to describe what it is. It's raw impression or raw something. I don't know what it is.
Good.
But
it's more fun that way, I think.
What's that?
But it's kind of fun.
So,
I like not knowing
do you think everyone kind of has the ability to let themselves go?
I think so, yeah,
with
on
art?
Some level.
On some levels?
It may not just be drawing, it might be music, it might be, like some people lose themselves in their dancing, some people lose themselves in their writing. You know, and even though I guess writing is more putting your thoughts together, you know, in a set fashion, it's still, some people can just write and not think. And do it well.
Got me a corporate job now, man. Finally got that job for engineering.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
When do you start, Pete?
Now for the hardest part of this interview, which is, let's talk about,
portion.
What's that?
Talent portion?
What is the talent portion?
You know, like in the, like Miss America pageant.
Oh, yeah, the talent
someone
portion.
twirls a baton, or...
I was going to talk about the topic of introversion and how I'm beginning to really think that, people need to work together in order to get anywhere and to get things done, and also, but how do you do this when you're an introvert? How is this?
I guess it depends on your level of introversion. Like, if it's to the point where it's crippling, you might not, but I don't know, it's like as an introvert working in groups, I noticed that, my ideas are no less valid, but it takes me a little while to get it to where I can say it. The process is like, okay, well, I'm going to think about this, how do I want to say this, or how do I want to do this? I take my time. I have to. That's just, I guess, how my brain works. So it's like, other people who are more outgoing, they come up with something like that. And it may be along the same lines of what I was going to say, or it may be better, it may be something completely different, it may be worse than what I was going to say, but, it usually comes to mind, like, right then and there. With me, I just have to work it out first before I share it. And I notice that's a lot of, I guess, how my introversion manifests. I'm very careful about what I share and what I don't. And it's not, some of it may be, oh, well, they may not accept it. You know, there's always that fear. But usually it's just, well, I might not be satisfied with how I come, or how I express this thought, or you know, how I follow through.
So something to do with perfectionism, or trying to make things, you know, really good.
There's a bit of perfectionism in it. You know, by no means am I a perfectionist. Well, I won't say that. By some means, I'm a perfectionist. It's like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I want it to look good. You know, or I want it to come out the way I want it to come out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to exactly what you're talking about. And that character trait, has literally prevented me, I think, for maybe 10 years in coming forward and doing things, because I was so busy in perfecting this, or, you know, oh, I discovered this new process, but wait, I don't know every single aspect of it. I think I'll study that, learn it, and then see, my biggest thing that I am still battling is that once I then perfect whatever the thing I'm working on, I then move on to something else, a bigger challenge. Instead of sharing it and teaching people, or like attracting others that are into that same thing, it's either abandoned or just put on hold while I go and find out something else.
So you need something new.
I mean, yes, novelty is my true love. Novelty. I'm addicted to some kind of risky, not risk, but unknown territories is very attractive to me. And traveling and being sort of adventurous as far as traveling to foreign countries and doing things that are unknown is a great appeal. So I'm thinking like, you know, this should all be documented. It's a particular way of living that, you know, I think could be of interest, because, you know, like, I'm not content with the usual.
Right. Well,
it's boring to live like that. But
they say that's how humans branched out, and you know, and did everything that was needed to be done in order to get us where we are today. If people just focused on one thing, nobody would have gone out, you know, away from the encampment and discovered, oh, we could live here, and this has resources, and oh, this is how we do this. And I mean, dissatisfaction is the mother of invention, I think. And that's what it sounds like you got going.
Part again about the love of tedium.
Oh, just taking pleasure from tedium.
Now, do you think that your art fits into that to some extent?
Yes. We just talked about how it feels good to do that, you know, to make it. You know, the whole thing is pleasure.
Now, do you watch TV, or is this a substitute for? Because a lot of people, you know, they go to work and, you know, they watch TV after work or whatever.
And I mean, I'll watch something online for a while, you know, every once in a while. But I mean, TV itself is useless because I'm not paying for cable, and the stuff that's free doesn't come in half the time, since they went over to this digital, went from analog to digital. And when it does come in, it's 9 channels of Jesus. So I got no use for it.